DC Cordova is here, and she's going to help us all better understand the new definition of wealth. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you here, Doria, because you are someone who I've known for about a year now, and I want to introduce you to my audience because you are inspirational to me. I know, you're a global CEO, you're the owner of the Money and You program and the accelerated business schools for entrepreneurs all over the world, like 40 countries, 165,000 people that you've served. And I can be no more excited to have you here to talk about wealth. Welcome. And can you tell us what your definition of wealth is?
It's actually having access to. This is something that a lot of people don't understand, that when you have accessibility, then that creates for you to have opportunities to really create wealth. So we're talking about not only access to cash or investments, but also access to networks and to experts and to masters, to information, to grants, and also support. Like in the last year, so many people, so many of us have needed support. So think of wealth is having access to. So people who are what my friend Lynn Twist calls resource poor, they don't have accessibility. A lot of people who are middle class don't have accessibility. So what you want to do is you want to start working on that so that you can have access to that and create your wealth.
And I know that within the hour of us talking, you're going to be hosting one of the most amazing events. You do it every single week, and that is Fridays with Doria. Is that part of your contribution to that?
Yes, it is. It's actually, that started last April when my whole global network really, it came to standstill and people were really, really upset. And I started with a thing called magical recovery exercises, which I'm sure you're going to put links up and people will have an opportunity to go to the site and go on the resources for magical recovery exercises. And I started with that so that people could clear all the multi-generational, decisions that they had made. And it was such a tough time. So people got really activated to all the scarcity that was happening in the world. So what we ended up doing is creating this. And somebody says, oh my God, I love coming every Friday at 5 p.m. with Doria and friends. And it was interesting because it's actually in the morning for the most of my Asia Pacific.
That's right.
So it probably should have been, Saturday mornings.
Fridays and mornings with Doria.
Yeah. But it turned out that we haven't stopped. So that started last April. And we literally saved some people's lives because people began to connect. And like today is a special day because we're doing a Ho'oponopono prayer, which is, it isn't recorded. There's no replay for that. But we will include everyone in your audience. It's like right now they will all be included if they can't make it. And I know some of the most successful, most loving people on the planet, and they have been coming every week so that they can go ahead and share their gifts. So COVID brought us that one gift, which is accessibility to magnificent masters that otherwise you would have to pay a lot of money to be with. And at Fridays with Doria, you get their beautiful, beautiful support and love and experience and wisdom. And, we have a few billionaires in there. They don't talk about it, but it doesn't take
to figure it out. And that's what I love about it, because it's exactly what you said at the beginning of this conversation, that's the new definition of wealth. And so I love that you do this. You're so supportive of all of us who are really doing our best to put our best work out into the world. And I just wanted to say, you've introduced me to some spirituality and some practices that I never knew of before. So I just wanted to thank you for that personally. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to just touch on something that you said a moment ago about that this started, in April. It was around the time of COVID really taking off and everything. And I know that you talk about what is called a global paradigm shift as it relates to what's going on in the world, really the state of the world today. Can we just have a conversation about that? What is, in your opinion, what is the global paradigm shift that we're experiencing right now?
Thank you. It's actually not my opinion. It is by agreement. A global paradigm shift is when everything changes in the world. And let me tell you how big it is. The last one prior to this time was 9/11. At that time, it impacted the whole world, and particularly security and our relationship with many countries around the world. I mean, the impact of 9/11, a lot of people who are not global entrepreneurs do not understand. It was immense. It shifted everything. The other one prior to that was the oil crisis of 72, 73. And at that point, I don't know, many of your audience probably weren't even born, but one of the things that occurred at the time was that some of the Middle Eastern countries decided to hold on to oil and just put the world into an incredible crisis. And we all had to stand in line every other day. You had different license plates, the even and the odds, and for you to get gasoline. Well, a gift came out of that comes out of all of them, but out of that one was when renewables really began to come online after that, because we knew that we never wanted to have that happen again. And the one prior to that was World War II. So you have to understand that this is a huge thing that we're going through. So when a global paradigm shift occurs, everything changes. And most human beings, including myself, I don't know about you, Cheryl, but I do not like change. You know.
How did you know? How did you know?
Because most human beings don't. You know,
Most of us don't.
You know, we find that place that we're very comfortable in. So if I may bring in here scarcity and sufficiency, because this is what has happened. We live in a world, and one of our mentors, Buckminster Fuller, was the man that taught us this, put it in the world many, many, many years ago. He passed away on July 1, 1983. But his teachings of Buckminster Fuller, he was the man that created the geodesic dome and coined the word synergy. So that's who Buckminster Fuller is. And Buckminster Fuller was the first person that brought to us the whole notion and to start really looking at scarcity versus, you know, and moving into sufficiency, and from there to abundance. So there used to be scarcity on the planet of resources, of food, of water, of many things, but it actually changed in the 70s. But that paradigm did not shift in the world. So people still live in tremendous scarcity. And so what occurred with, you know, the whole thing with COVID around the world, it brought up so many feelings of scarcity for people. And yet, if you really look at it, there is quite a bit of sufficiency in your life. Now, today may not be the best day because we're going through such a climate change crisis in Texas and other states. But I have to tell you that when you begin to really monitor yourself and you begin to really feel when you are moving into total scarcity, not only of money, of resources, of water, of electricity, of health, of love, your life begins to shift because it is in our nature to correct. We are self-correcting systems. Human beings will self-correct when they see something that is wrong. It is an inherent attribute in our DNA to correct, and most people don't know that.
And I know one thing that's important to you, and you call yourself a sustainability entrepreneur, and you just mentioned something interesting about climate change as well. Despite the deniers, you know, I come from the world of weather, and I was a broadcaster for many, many years, and I can tell you, as someone who covered natural disasters, and seeing the number of natural disasters rising, even at a time many years ago before I left and started to do my own thing, it's a real thing. So I wonder what you think about sustainability, you know, climate change. What are your thoughts on how we as a society and humanity can really go in the right direction?
Well, right now, if I may just say, excuse me, so many thoughts come up when you ask that question. You're a very good interviewer.
Maybe a loaded question, yes, I admit.
Well, sustainability is a very powerful word, because you don't have to just use it around climate, but you can actually use it completely in your life. We can also talk about financial sustainability, health sustainability, love sustainability. But right now, if you can just learn this from me, I used to be a court reporter. In my what I call my past life in my 20s, I started out in the legal field as an assistant legal secretary. Then I was a professional interpreter, and then I became a court reporter, an official court reporter, both in the Los Angeles and in the Hawaii, court systems. And I was going to grow up to be an attorney. And one of the things that I learned in court, this very powerful, powerful thing to remember. Is it a fact or is it an opinion? Is it a fact or is it an opinion? So what you have to look at, I know there's people who are deniers, a lot less, but what you have to do is you have to really look at the facts and how things have really shifted. And the reason why during the last couple of elections it came up so much is because there has been such a hit, particularly in the United States, by having that being denied when it actually is happening. So it's so costly. And then also you have a new economy that is coming up, and there are many countries that are involved in that. The core of it is for you to be educated. This is my whole message. I am very neutral. In many ways, I am an independent. I am called a fiscal conservative and a social democrat. And very, very conservative friends laugh and they go, "You are confused." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm very, very clear about who I am." And one of the things that occurs is that you need to understand that we are personally responsible for financial literacy because government is not going to give it to us. And so one of my missions is to transform educational systems around the world and eradicate poverty and hunger. And as you know, the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, Robert Kiyosaki was my business partner. Right here, where we're standing right here, we literally created his future life in the 80s. He was my business partner for 9 years. And the first book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, came out of teachings of Buckminster Fuller and the Money and You program. And so we are not designed, we are not getting the right type of education. So what then occurs is that we don't have the right education, not only about finances, but also on how to discern, how to be able to look at things, how to make decisions, how to be very, very intelligent and following your own calling, but also looking at the facts without violating whatever it is your political, your religious, your background. Because some of the most staunch environmentalists are Republicans. It's like people say, no way. Yes way. I know them. They're part of the Our Day network, which is absolutely beautiful. It's where I go learn so much about the environment. So what we need to understand that there's a new economy that's coming up, and that is very important to look at because there's also a paradigm shift that is a little bit slower that technology is actually bringing about. And so the young people, you have this separation now between the young and the old. That's why you get a little young girl, that Greta girl, who's so young and says, "Hey, right. You guys, hey, what are you doing?" Because she is a whole new breed. And all these young people look at anybody that is thinking, in oil or in old industries, they kind of go, maybe that, and it was great for a while, and thank you for all the wealth, and thank you for where it got us, but we need to look at things newly, and that's where wealth is. Wealth is by seeing as industry shifts, as businesses shift, and being flexible. I really want the audience to get this. Some of our friends, some of our young people, and some of our older people are too close-minded, and that will affect you financially.
Yeah. Doria, this is amazing. I want to ask you about your next exciting project, Evolve XP, and tell us a little bit about that. Does it pertain to what you just mentioned about education and all of that? Explain what Evolve XP is really all about.
Okay, so for 42 years, we literally have set the standard in the industry. The Money and You program was the first entrepreneurial, experiential, transformational program on the planet that taught entrepreneurs. Well, we knew we were going to be going online, but again, this is another gift from COVID. And what ended up happening is that we were literally forced to create an online program, only 7 hours for 2 days. And we covered three major parts, three major pieces. And one of them is the one that I definitely want you all to learn about, or to really get, is leverage. Now, a lot of people use the word leverage, but let me tell you something. I've been working on myself for 45 years. I have been in the business of transformation for 42 years. And there's three words that we have found around the world, no matter what language are very misunderstood. The word love, the word leverage, and the word systems. Okay? So when you really understand those, what begins to occur is that you begin to really see all the different ways that you can expand and grow your business. So for 2 days online, only 7 hours, and what we do with people is that we take them through 4 experiential training exercises online on Zoom, and the masters at it. I mean, we can put people into some very deep work, working with teams. And so the next one, I believe, is going to be March 25th and 26th American time. It starts at 4 p.m. Pacific, and it's worth for those of you who are in America to stay up, because we have it at those hours, because most of the people are coming from the Asia Pacific region. So for 2 days, you get connect with fabulous entrepreneurs, business people, educators, and rock stars like yourself, Cheryl, that are so advanced in their thinking, and you get to know them. So you have to think of global entrepreneurship next, because that opens up your access. So our Evolve experience, the XP stands for experience, is about bringing our work for people to get a taste until we can go back, and have our live programs. But it's so inexpensive. I think it's $394, and you can bring, a second person for $100 reduction. And trust me when I tell you, you spend 14 hours plus in being able to reset yourself with some very powerful principles that I be talking about: scarcity, sufficiency, leverage, and a few other things.
I am looking forward to it. And I hope that if you're watching this right now, look for the links below this video. You need to be at this event. Trust me, you need to know Doria. So I hope that by bringing Doria on and introducing you to her, that you're going to really be able to expand yourself. And that's been my experience, Doria, personally. You've helped me expand my thinking in just the 1 year that I've known you. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're someone who's very special and really has impacted me in a lot of different ways, spiritually, also from the standpoint of just expanding my mind to a global perspective. That's something that I've been very North American focused, shall we say, and you've helped me expand my thinking to a global mindset. And I really want to thank you for that.
Well, you can imagine, I mean, your work is so needed in the Asia Pacific region. Asia Pacific has 2/3 of the world's population. So when you feel scarcity of clients and customers and markets, just remember, particularly, that's another gift from COVID, that he has made us all completely global through technology. So, and thank you, because I learned from you. I feel that you are such a beautiful human being, and you're so good at your old profession. You didn't have to leave. I'm sure that you would have just keep growing and growing and expanding. And yet what you did is you follow your heart, you follow your purpose, and have learned how to monetize it, how to create it, and now to teach it to others. That's a gift. That is a gift.
Well, thank you, Doria. I appreciate it. I love that you spent some time with us. And please connect with Doria. Go to fridayswithdoria.com and also look for the links below this video to take part in Evolve XP and take yourself to the next level. Thank you so much, Doria, for being here.
Aloha, everyone. Bye-bye.